Welcome back to Ta-da 3D printing.
I've shown on previous videos my miniature shower that I sell on Etsy. It's completely made with the 3D printers, although I do separate it into multiple pieces. So I had a customer contact me wanting a custom design. This is the pictures that they sent me. They had some very specific measurements that they wanted it made in. She did want the shower pan inset a little bit like you see in the picture on the right. And the inside of the shower, she just wanted a solid color. She didn't want any specific design because rather than a dollhouse miniature, this is going to actually be a sample that they're going to put tile samples on to show customers some different ideas. This is the design that I sent to her and it was approved. She wanted one with a tub and one with a shower pan. I could, of course, split this into multiple colors, but I really want to see if it's possible to print this as one unit so I don't have to glue anything. I pulled it first into Bamboo Studio, and this was actually how I made my design that I sent to her. And if it's just this print with these dimensions, a single color on Bamboo, it would be about 6.5 hours. It's actually going to be a 3-color print. She wanted the inside to be, at first she was saying green, she ended up deciding it needed to be a blue, and then also on the floor just in front of the tub or the shower pan, she wanted a light gray. So it's going to be 3 colors, and I wanted to see first on Bamboo, on my X1 carbon, what the time frame would be to print this all together. But unfortunately, these 3 colors, because it's going to be just about every layer there's going to need to be a color change, is going to take almost 2 days. Just a few minutes short of 2 full days. It's going to be a ton of waste, and eventually she wants to perhaps buy multiple of these. So even though this fits on the Bamboo, I don't think that that's going to work for the time frame and the waste. So instead, I'm going to pull this into Prusa Slicer and see how it would work on the XL. So this is the exact same file, same size, everything. I go through in Prusa Slicer and color it again. I'm anxious to see what the time frame is going to be on this, but once it slices, I see something that is not going to work. Another little surprise line. So along the top, can you guys see that white line on the inside where there should be blue? And I've already been dealing with that on the room box, so I'm not even going to attempt to print this and think it's going to disappear. It's going to show. So I'm a little stumped. The last line was kind of on the inside corner, and this is on the top. While I'm trying to think how to fix this, at 0.2 layer height speed with input shaper, if I scroll down, I do see that this print would take about 11 hours. So at least it is something that is doable. Unlike the Bamboo, I don't really want to run anything that's going to take almost 2 days. So I do want to go this route of printing it on the XL, even though that white line was not showing, if you remember, in the Bamboo slice. So that's something that's going on just with Prusa Slicer. Now also keep in mind that this happened in the time frame of, it was after the room box that I had that black line, but this was around the end of January, so I was slicing this with 2.7.1. That was the stable version of Prusa Slicer. There was nothing else out. I did get several comments about that on the last video, but that was not available at this point. And when I jump back and forth between the slice view and then back to the painted view, the line does disappear. So it's not something that I can just paint again because there's nothing there to paint. So I go back into Tinkercad, and in my mind I was thinking, okay, the blue is not solid, it's not pulling through solid. So what if I make a second piece and pull it in just like a liner and make that piece solid blue? Will that kind of mask over and kind of fix that problem? So I just duplicate my same thing, and then I go through and delete the tub and go through and make all of the walls a little bit shallower so that when I pull it in, it's not going to go the full depth because I still want it white on the outside. I just want it blue on the inside. So I go through and make all of my walls smaller. And then I also remove the floor because I don't really need that for this kind of shell that I'm trying to drop over the inside of the shower. I also always export as an STL. Maybe that's a problem, but that's just been my habit and what I've always done. So I pull in this new file and I just change the default on this insert to be just solid blue. It's going to be blue on the inside and the outside. I figure let's make it as blue as possible, and then I can line it up and slice it again, and I'm super hopeful that it's going to work, but I still see the line. I go back into Tinkercad and separate the tub from the shower and try to run this again to see if maybe them being two parts together is too much. I recolor the shower again with the blue on the inside and the gray floor, which I'm a little nervous about how exactly that's gonna all work together, but I slice that again and I still have the line. I probably could just get rid of the tub and not have it on the same build plate, but I don't think it matters since it's just a completely separate thing. I had just the default 0.2 speed layer height. I was going to run this as input shaper, so I think, okay, let's just try a different layer height and see if maybe that helps. So I switch it to 0.32 speed, and this is still with input shaper, and I still see the line. So the next thing I try is getting rid of the tub, not have it on the build plate at all. Maybe that's interfering with it. Slice it again. It's so frustrating because it's so blue before, and then after I slice it, the line appears again. But I'm looking at the shower and I'm like, man, that line is so close to the top. And now that I don't have the tub in it, what would happen if I just sliced the very top off? Just overlap it a little bit so that I know that I'm going to catch that line and see what happens. Is it still going to show that line like the same amount lower, or is that going to slice off that weird white line? I, of course, have to then go back through and recolor it again because I always forget that the color doesn't seem to transfer, especially when you do a slice. So after doing the color again, I don't see a little line along the top. It's been sliced. It's got the color solid blue. Of course, now it's too short, but I think that this is something I can manage. So what if of course, I do the color change on the floor to just make sure there's nothing crazy that happens. So I think, okay, I can make this work. This is at the very top. So she wanted the shower height to be 9.6 inches tall. So why don't I just make it 10 inches or 10.6 inches tall? I still really wanted to have it all one piece. I still really wanted to have the tub in there. So what if I just make the whole thing tall, and then rather than like scale it down, I'll just slice the top off. I did recolor the 10.6 tall just because I was kind of curious if now that it's all one piece and just a different height, maybe it had something to do with the funny height. So I do color this and see if that line appears again. And sure enough, the line appears again. So I know what I need to do now. I know that I can slice this off. And thank goodness that Prusa Slicer now has the option for inches, because when I go through and slice it, I can tell it exactly the height that I want it to be sliced at. In inches, that makes sense to me. So after recoloring again, because I, of course, forgot that that was going to happen, that I was going to have to color it again. Recolored again, I'm at 0.32 layer height speed with input shaper, and I don't have any weird white line along the top anymore. I slice that off, and this print is going to be about 9 hours, 9.5. I had a lot of questions on previous videos with the dragon and the buddy print, why I didn't, maybe talk to Prusa Chat more or throw more of a stink that my printer was not working and had crazy things like the color changes not working, the tower falling over. Why wasn't I just sending my printer back because it had so many issues? And it's because of things like this print going right now. It prints completely through, completely fine. I don't have any issues. There's no crashes. The colors all work. It prints as it should. So, and this is really what I'm printing. This is what I'm selling. I'm not selling people dragons and buddy prints. That would be great, but I print really boring things. They're great to me, but you know, they're square things. They're very simple. So if these things are working, that's what I really bought the printer for. So I hope that kind of helps. Okay, so while this print did what I told it to do, I did run this on 0.32 speed, and there's a couple of quirky things that I don't love about this print. The right corner of the tub is very rough. It's kind of hard to see. I'm trying to focus in a little bit more on this. It doesn't look great. I am still running everything 0.6 nozzle, and I'm just thinking the speed profile maybe is not the best for this because there's kind of a funny back corner, that back left corner. The back right, it's not as bad, but I just don't like, I feel like that's definitely a speed thing. It's just moving too fast. And there's this funny kind of color difference on where the blue starts and where it's solid white. The tower did fine. It's kind of an overall light blue, which surprises me. I expected it to be like dark blue and white, or, you know, the actual blue. It's kind of a combination. So I want to improve this, and with that color difference is the big thing that bugs me. I think what I'll probably would be the best solution is to split this up again. And instead of having the tub part of the shower, I'm going to just have to print the tub separate. So I go through all the same process again. I bring it in at 10.6, slice off the top inch, and then go through and do a color change on the whole thing. And this is what I need. I'm still frustrated that I have to reposition this stupid tower every single time because it cannot align itself properly. So I have to scoot everything forward, but that's fine. It does work. I'm not having that line showing. And once I switch from speed to 0.32 structural, which I think is going to look better, it's just not going to move quite as fast. It's going to be about 10.5 hours. I don't love that without the tub in there. I'm still going to have to mess around with this a little bit more, but I just want to see how it's going to look. And the second attempt at the shower prints fine. Even overnight, it does fine. There's no errors, problems. It's very nice to come in the morning and my print is done. There are a couple of very fine wispy strings that would be easy to just brush off. There's no dents or problems in the actual blue. Of course, I look very close along the top where that funny line was. But I like the overlap even. There's just like a little bit of blue along the front. But everything looks good. I don't see, you know, there's a little bit of maybe kind of stringing right there in that corner. But overall, it's very nice. I don't see any of that funny back corner that I was seeing on the speed. So I think it's worth it to take the little bit longer time. I think this is just a better quality by switching to the structural. And if I'd realized that, I would have printed 2 of these at the same time because, of course, I would only have 1 tower and I need to make 2 of these. I need to make 1 with a shower pan and 1 with a tub. I have never come up with an exact formula of things that need to fit inside of each other that works because, especially with a 0.6 nozzle, I feel like my margin of error is even more. Instead of making it the exact inside, I do scale it down just a little bit for this shower pan, and I feel like, of course, I do swap it over to a 0 infill. I didn't want diagonal lines. I wanted it just nice and clean. And I decided to do the shower pan first. I did a 99% scale just to give myself a little bit of room. And just another side point that the customer did not ask for any faucets or drain or anything. So when you look at this and think, okay, this is missing something, she just wanted it really simple. Yes, I could have easily printed this on a different printer, but I was just kind of focused on the Excel for whatever reason. So I knocked this out, and I end up being glad that rather than doing either the tub or doing the tub and the shower pan, that I only did the shower pan first because the 99 scale ends up being just a hair too small. I mean, it's fine, but I'm really trying to make this as good as possible, and I just feel like there's too much of a gap from side to side. It's not going to be real noticeable on the depth, but the side to side is just a little bit too much. So I'm going to reprint that. I end up finding that 99.99 on this scale is just enough small enough that it is going to fit without getting caught. You see the previous one that I had in there that was just too gappy, and now this one, the little bit bigger one, is going to be perfect. It seems like some designs, like the sink that I posted a couple of days ago on the bamboo, worked out beautiful. And then other things, just they're a little bit more complicated. They're completely new designs. I'm sure they're 100% my own fault. Take a couple of prints to get them to work right. But this is what I'm looking for. She gave me exact dimensions on the height that she wanted for the shower pan. This works good. So now I'm going to go into the tub and make it the same thing, the 99.99. I might as well keep this consistent and run this on the Prusa XL, so it's going to look the same. This prints well. I don't have any issues. So I knocked out one more of the shower surround. One of these days, I'm going to remember to turn the light off on the mount because it just creates this epileptic seizure, I feel like. But I do know that if I printed two of these, I would have been better off, but I wanted to make sure everything looked good first. So this is put it all together. I've got the shower surround that looks amazing. Shower pan, everything fits. It's exactly what I wanted. I sent it to her. She loves it. Then I've got the second shower. And of course the tub fits great with this one as well. So I think that this was a very roundabout way to get here, but I'm very happy with how they look. I like them together. I sent some pictures to her. She loves them. I'm going to send these out, and I actually heard from her just a few days later. I shipped these to Canada from the US, which surprised me. But anyways, I heard from her not very long later, and she loved them. She wants some more. So after all of your comments about updating to the alpha slicer, which was all that was available on Saturday, now we've got a beta of, and I think it's 2.7.2. Downloaded that one, pulled open the same file again. This is the 10.5 because that's what I had available. And I am not seeing a line along the top. So for this particular print, updating to the beta from the stable version fixed the line. I did open my room box and it's still not fixed. But anyways, I'm excited that this is the case because this customer wants me to make 10 of each of these here pretty soon. So I'm really excited to be able to knock out a bunch of these. I am still probably going to go back to my previous thing where I have the tub and the shower separate, but I just had this available to quickly slice on the new slicer, and it's gonna work. So I'm very happy about that. I'm still a little confused, but that was a workaround to have to slice something off, and I'm going to keep that in my back pocket to see if I can figure something out with the room box. So I really appreciate all your comments, and see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.